Evening rush hour. Rome Metro. Hundreds crowd onto a downward escalator, expecting a routine descent. Suddenly, the machine surges, a metallic scream, momentum unchecked. 24 people were injured in seconds. Safety systems should have made this impossible, but every brake failed. This disaster didn't start with a broken part. It started long before anyone set foot on those stairs. What happened when the world's safest machine became the most dangerous? The first wave hits just after 7 in the evening. Hundreds of football fans, many in red and blue, surge down the marble stairs toward the metro entrance. Their voices echo off the tile, laughter and chants bouncing in the close air. The escalator is already busy, but then the crowd thickens. More fans press in from behind, shoulders tight, elbows brushing, backpacks wedged between strangers. There is no space to pause or step aside. The metal steps keep swallowing more people, a living conveyor pulling everyone downward, one slow meter at a time. In the crush, a few try to hold the handrail, but it is slick with sweat and movement. The weight builds, dozens, then over 100 bodies packed onto a single machine meant for steady, even flow. Some fans shift their balance, feeling the escalator sag slightly beneath their feet. The hum of the motor grows louder, straining to keep pace. Beneath the floor, current meters spike as the drive system struggles to handle the sudden overload. The machinery was designed for busy evenings, but not for this. An entire section of the stadium crowd funneled onto one pair of moving stairs. Nobody notices the relay hidden inside the control panel, its needle jumping past safe limits. No one can see the silent warning lights flicker behind a locked metal door. To the crowd, it is just another packed ride to the platform. But inside the escalator, the balance is tipping. The line between routine and risk grows thinner with every added passenger. Every second the load increases. The machine is still running, for now. A sudden jolt ripples through the escalator. The packed crowd lurches, gripping anything within reach. Then comes the sound, an escalating metallic whine, sharper and louder than the usual motor hum. It is the warning no one recognizes until it is too late. The escalator, designed to move at a steady half a meter per second, surges forward. In seconds, the speed doubles. Shoes scrape, bodies sway. Panic spreads up the line as people realize they are accelerating downward, with no way to stop. Beneath their feet, the machine's main brake strains to clamp the drive shaft. But the friction is weak, barely slowing the descent. Inside the locked control cabinet, the emergency brake tries to engage, but half its force is trapped by plastic cable ties. The escalator barrels on, now a 100-person freight car with no brakes. The screech of steel on steel drowns out the shouts. Hands slip from the rail. At the base, there is nowhere to go. The first passengers crash into the landing, slammed forward by the weight behind them. Bodies pile up, legs tangled, backs pinned against the balustrade. The metal steps grind and buckle under the force, sharp edges bending as more people are thrown into the heap. For a few seconds, it is pure chaos, shouts, the shriek of metal, shoes and bags flying. Then, at last, the escalator shudders to a halt. 24 people lie injured at the bottom, some trapped in the mangled steps. The alarms wail, echoing off the marble, but the damage is done. What should have been impossible, a runaway escalator unchecked by 3 layers of safety, has just happened in the heart of Rome. Forensic engineers arrived at Repubblica Station less than an hour after the last ambulance left. Their job was simple in theory: find out why the escalator's 3 layers of safety all failed at once. The first clue came from the brake test. On paper, the service brake was supposed to deliver 215 Newton meters of stopping force, enough to halt a fully loaded escalator in seconds. But the actual measurement was barely a third of that. The brake shoes had been misadjusted, worn far past the point of reliability. The numbers left no doubt: 70 to 90 Newton meters, not nearly enough to stop the loaded steps under real-world pressure. Next, they opened the emergency brake housing. The main piston had fired, just as the system was designed to do. But the horizontal wedge, meant to jam the drive shaft solid, had not moved at all. Plastic cable ties, looped tight around the wedge, held it in place. This was not a manufacturing defect. It was not a design flaw. Someone had deliberately blocked half the emergency brake. The machine's last line of defense had been tied back, reducing its power by almost 50%. When investigators checked the event data logger, they found it switched off. No record of faults, no trace of the overspeed event, no digital fingerprints from the moment of failure. Maintenance logs were missing or incomplete. There was no paperwork for a recent brake overhaul, no sign the cable ties had ever been officially reported or removed. The evidence pointed in one direction. This disaster was not just mechanical. It was engineered by human hands and then covered up by missing data. Court records laid out a chain of decisions and omissions that stretched from the machine room to the highest offices of Rome's transit authority. Investigators traced the missing maintenance entries, whole months where critical brake checks were signed off but never performed. Emails surfaced showing senior ATAC managers authorizing plastic cable ties as a temporary solution for the emergency brake, with no follow-up plan. Wiretaps caught operations staff discussing cost-cutting, urging technicians to keep things running rather than take machines offline for proper repairs. The legal case built slowly, but the evidence was overwhelming. 4 senior managers, Ettore Bucci, Alessandro Gagliotti, Filippo Nazario, and Raffaele Santulli, stood accused of fraud in public procurement and aggravated personal injury. 10 Metro Roma technicians faced charges for carrying out the physical tampering and falsifying maintenance logs. The prosecution's case rested on a stack of documents, work orders, internal memos, and falsified inspection reports, all pointing to a deliberate pattern of neglect and deception. In June 2021, the verdict came down. Each of the 4 ATAC managers received 4-year prison sentences and fines of €200,000. The 10 technicians were given suspended sentences and ordered to perform community service. ATAC, the parent company, was ordered to pay €12 million in damages to victims and to fund a network-wide safety audit. The appeals court upheld the convictions, calling it gross negligence and intentional safety sabotage. The message was clear. This was not a case of bad luck or a one-off mistake. Managers and technicians had chosen shortcuts over safety, paperwork over real protection. The disaster at Repubblica Station was the result of decisions made in offices and workshops, not just a failure of steel and circuitry. Long before escalators became a fixture of city life, they began as a spectacle. In 1896, Jesse Reno unveiled the first moving staircase at Coney Island, a slanted belt with cleats, more amusement ride than transit tool. Riders clung to the rail, gliding up a steep incline for the thrill of it. The idea caught on. Engineers like George Wheeler soon refined the concept, introducing the dual-track step system that kept steps level and stable. By the early 1900s, the step chain, an endless loop of metal links and wheels, replaced Reno's sliding surface, making the ride smoother and safer. What started as a novelty quickly became essential. Each improvement added not just comfort, but layers of reliability. The moving stairs were evolving, step by step, toward the robust systems that would one day carry millions safely through subways, airports, and shopping centers around the world. Modern escalators are built to stop disasters before they start. At the heart of each machine is a heavy-duty motor and gearbox, turning high-speed rotation into the slow, steady climb or descent that millions rely on every day. The step chain, an endless loop of interlocking links, carries each tread safely along its track. But it is the safety layers that set these machines apart. The main brake clamps the drive shaft with enough force to halt a fully loaded escalator in seconds. An independent emergency brake stands by, ready to jam the machinery if the main system fails. Overspeed sensors watch for even the slightest jump in speed, cutting power and triggering the brakes in sequence. Many escalators also use regenerative braking, converting excess energy into electricity and helping control descent under heavy loads. With more than 1.5 million escalators in service worldwide and billions of rides each year, catastrophic failures are vanishingly rare. The Rome disaster was not a failure of design, it was the defeat of every safeguard by human hands. Escalators obey physics. Safety depends on people. Today, billions ride without fear because most systems are built, checked, and trusted. But every shortcut, every missing log, every silent alarm trades certainty for risk. Machines don't decide when to fail. We do. What would you trust with your next step?